It was a mighty ritual. There was a clarity and lightness to the energy in the house when he left. And it has stayed like that. I went to a 9-day teaching with 2 Tibetan lamas called Zonza Khensi and Jamyang Khensi Rinpoche. Jimmy Khensi looked into my eyes with such kindness and said, "When you think of Danton and his pain, don't just think of him. Think of all the young men in the world who are suffering this pain." And that was the key to my really, really beginning to understand what compassion actually was. To no longer seeing it as my pain, my loss, my Danton, but understanding that suffering is universal. So I saw that this was just not my pain. It was the pain of humanity. It was a huge awakening for me, and I began to understand the path of transforming this suffering by sitting with it, not moving from it, not running, not going to another house and living somewhere else and starting another life. It wasn't easy, but I stayed with it. With time, one can see the bigger picture, and I know now that Danton's death created ripples that go on and on. Danton's death helped my mother to face her own death, which came just 9 months later. Mama said to me, "When that boy died, my heart opened." And truly it did. She became a more compassionate, less judgmental person, far more aware of her own mortality. Our last outing together was to this art gallery of New South Wales to see an exhibition of sacred Buddhist art called Radiant Awakening. We spent 5 hours here and she loved the images. I asked her which was her favourite, and without hesitation she pointed to Amitabha, the 12th century Japanese sculpture of the Buddha of boundless light who guides the soul into the Pure Land after death. Mum died just 19 days later, and again, the ripples from Danton's death allowed me to help my mother through her own death. I asked Gyaltse Rinpoche to come and see Mum in the nursing home. He spent time with her and did the poa practice to help her prepare for death. After he left, Mum kept talking about the light. She rang her friend Shirley and she said, "Oh, Shirl, darl, it's such a beautiful time of your life." "It's so light, Shirl. I'm being dazzled by this light." A week before she died, Danton's mother Danny came to visit, and Mum said, "I don't want to gloat, darling, but I'm going to see Danton before the two of you." In the days before she died, she whispered, "Oh, this beautiful place, like heaven, peace, utter peace." As the Tibetan Lama Chogyam Trungpa said, the path is the goal. And since Mum's death, my greatest goal has been to remain on the path. I have listened to so many teachings from so many wise and compassionate teachers, but most of my understanding on this path has come from experience. Through all the pain and suffering and loss and love and passion and joy, I can honestly say I do believe the Buddhist truth that all things are impermanent. I get that. I understand it in the core of my being. My granddaughter Estella was born 4 years ago, and she has brought such joy back into my life. Every minute I spend with her gives me so much happiness. But with that deep happiness and love comes attachment, and with attachment comes pain. So my darling Estella is already a great teacher, and she is teaching me the truth that all emotions are pain. Concepts like emptiness and nirvana are hard to get my head around, but I've learned that only when I sit in meditation can I get even a glimmer of the experience that there is no inherent existence. So I am on the path, and I have realised that I have to keep it simple, that life truly is the most profound teacher, and that when I sit quietly and when my heart is open, I can trust the wisdom that is my own true nature. Finally, I would like to read a passage that was written by the Tibetan sage Milarepa in the 11th century. Milarepa was a great Tibetan yogi who lived in a cave in the wilderness, and these are the instructions that he gave to one of his young female disciples. Listen, you fortunate girl, you who have wealth and faith. Thinking of the magnitude of the sky, meditate on the vastness with no centre and no edge. Thinking of the sun and moon, meditate upon their light without darkness or obscurity. Resembling the unchanging solid mountain before you, you should meditate with steadiness and solidity. Like the ocean infinitely great and unfathomably deep, absorb yourself in deepest contemplation. Thus, meditate on your self-mind. With no doubt and error, practice. I love this passage because it expresses such deep and boundless wisdom, and it grounds it in nature. So now my practice is to sit every morning in nature, facing the great eastern sun, looking out at the vastness of the sky with the ancient blue mountains in front of me. And I accept that whatever arises, happy or sad, restless or peaceful, is all my meditation. The most profound understanding of Buddhism for me is that when the Buddha attained full enlightenment, he touched the earth as his witness. That is just the most profound, that he touched the earth as his witness.